What's up guys, it's Ryan and you're watching Ryan Vision. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more. What I'm working on right now is called a bunch of different things. The ZJ gas mod, the TJ fuel neck filler bezel mod. I mean, call it whatever you want. Basically what I'm doing is removing the factory ZJ gas lid and hinge assembly and putting in a TJ plastic bezel assembly, which looks like this right here. So it's just a nice trim piece that when I take the gas cap off, it'll go on there nice and flush with the body, and then I'll have an exposed gas cap, no more door. And then since I'm in California, I'll get a locking gas cap so nobody sticks a hose in there and steals all my gas. But just want to show you real quick what it takes to get this stock door assembly off. This thing will be in your stock ZJ, you know, in there like this, and basically there's two bolts that hold the hinge assembly on, and those are on the inside, and once you get those off, the whole thing just pulls out real nice and easy. And you can see mine was jammed in. Basically it wasn't staying closed, and so what I would do is just punch it with my fist until this little lip here caught here, so you can see it's gouging the paint, and then I'd have to stick a knife or a key or something in the bottom to kind of pry it out at the gas station. And finally I just got tired of that, and I saw this online, you know, some of the other guys doing this mod, and looked pretty nice, looked easy to do, so I'm trying it out. So once you get those two bolts off, this thing just pulls right out, and let me show you how you get that off. Basically what you want to do first is there's four screws holding this center piece down, and I just took 3 of them out. The reason being is this piece right here had a screw underneath here, so I took 3 of the 4 off just so I could peel this up enough to get a screwdriver in there and take the screw off of here. I was trying not to break any of this plastic trim. Then you got one of those easy to break clips right here. Stick a screwdriver in on that, pry it out of this slot here. And then right here, this was an 8mm bolt that was holding this rubber nub on, I guess I'll call it. And there's another one of those right here, a longer 8mm bolt that was up on this thing. And then this is just the slot that the factory spare tire bracket comes through. So 8mm bolt, 8mm bolt, and then you just have this lip here, so pull down out of this piece, pull straight down and out, and then you had a screw here and the screw down here, and remember you got to take 3 of the 4 out, or even all 4 to get to that one. And then once you do that, lift your mat up and you can kind of pry this trim piece out, and it's pretty flexible, and you can pry it back like this, and then all you got to do is reach in here behind all this insulation and wires and stuff, and you'll actually feel 2 bolts holding that gas hinge assembly on, and those are 10mm bolts. So you got the 8mm bolts on the rubber nubs on the inside here and here, and then you got the 10mm 2 bolts in here. So once you pull those out, this whole assembly just comes out like nothing. Here's one of the 10mm bolts, and then the whole thing pops back out. So once you get it out, you can go ahead and screw all this back on, because you're not going to need, there's no more hinge assembly or anything that goes in those bolt holes. So you can put all this trim piece back on, and then it's just a matter of working on this to get it to fit the way you want. Maybe do some Dremel action. I'll let you know what it takes on this one, and get it in there nice and flush. And then with a Sharpie, once you have it where you want it to be, with a Sharpie just mark your 4 screw holes, pre-drill those, and run some black screws in. Should be a nice easy mod to do, so I'll let you guys know how it goes. Alright, so there was a little nub, it looks like a plus sign, like right there, and I ground that down with this just to make sure that it'll sit flush. It's just a cutting bit, high-speed cutting bit for a typical Dremel tool. And then I got this all masked off over here with just some paper towels, and I made sure that my masking was out far enough that it's going to let me get to all the exposed metal to prevent the rust. And then I just did some extra layer of paper towels to prevent any overspray. But I also made sure that the bezel is going to cover any area that gets black, any areas like these out here. So I'm going to hit it with a coat of paint now, the black Rust-Oleum, let it dry, and then I'm going to see how the bezel fits in here, see if I got to do any more Dremel work to it. Alright, so here's what it looks like after I peeled off all the masking tape and the paper towels. I got all the bare metal covered with the Rust-Oleum semi-gloss black, and these rough, nasty corners I made there will be completely covered by the bezel. So now I'm going to test fit it, see if I need to do any more Dremel work to get this thing to fit up snugly. Once I get it fit where I want it, then I'm going to mark holes on the body with a Sharpie so that I can drill before I run the screws in. Alright, so you can see I've notched it out right there in the center for that little tab, but it's still not sitting flush on the bottom. And it's also, I want the holes to be pretty even, so the top are good. Down here this one's good, but this one is not catching, so I need this whole bezel to come down a little bit. And I think what's preventing it, you can see I've already, that's where I did the notch, and then on the back I've tried to notch it some more, but I don't want to risk going through, because the whole reason I'm doing this bezel is to improve the looks, so I don't want this coming out all nasty. So I think the way to do it right is to take this plate off, and in order to do that, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but I got to undo the filler tube and the breather tube there, and then pull this whole assembly out and see if I can take this off of the tube here, the filler neck, and maybe get this on the back side and see if I can catch thread and bolt this on from the back side, because I'm pretty sure I gotta have this piece. I can't just have this wobbling around. So I'm gonna take those two hoses off, see what I can do, because I want to do this right. I want it to sit flush and even, so we'll see what happens. Alright guys, so I got the filler neck and the breather vent tube off, but I stuck them back in and put the cap on so no fumes are coming out, and I got them way out of my way, because the only way I can see to do this right, still after notching it and after taking that filler tube plate off to give it more room, it's still not flush on the bottom. You can see, you know, I can push it up like this and then it's flush, but then the bolt holes don't match up. So the only way I see to do it the right way, or enough to satisfy me, is I'm gonna cut this out. I'm gonna cut this whole bottom area out. Even if I have to go up here, it doesn't really matter. And all right here too, I'm gonna cut this out. I'm gonna go around this and then bend this down. This is a little spot weld I can see, but there's a bunch of those going around. It's not the only one. So I'm gonna cut all this out, and then I'm gonna bend this down, and I'm gonna see if I can get it to fit flush and get it to fit even to where I can get all 4 screws actually into the body. This turned out to be a little more involved, but like I said, I just want to do it right. I want it to look really nice. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. So again, I got all the gas fumes over here. Actually, hopefully no gas fumes. I don't smell anything, so it's out of the way, safe, because I'm going to have some sparks flying when I fire up the Dremel right now and cut this out. So my plan is to get this screwed to the body securely, all 4 screws, and then I'll screw the filler tube plate to this, and the plastic bezel will actually be holding it in place. I'm basically cutting this filler neck assembly. I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut these edges off, and you can see I've got these holes, nice even 4 holes marked. I marked those using the bezel as a template, because what I've seen online is a lot of people are basically just bolting on. They'll drill new holes and they'll just bolt the center on, and then on these outer screws on the body, they just cut the screw heads off and put super glue on them, and I don't like that idea at all. This thing is actually going to be screwed onto the Jeep. I've already drilled the holes on the body. It fits securely on there, so now I want to fit this securely on there. And what I've done is on the Jeep itself, I've cut out area so that this will actually just slide through freely and mount to the bezel. It's not going to even mount to the Jeep anymore. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see I've cut out quite a bit. You can see the old hole there. I think I cut this one out, and then a little bit of the other hole there. So what I did was I cut out as much as I could, and the stuff I couldn't get the right angle on with the Dremel tool, I did relief cuts, and then I banged it in with a hammer, and then I put spray paint on everything just so there's no bare metal, no chance of rust down the road. So what this is going to allow me to do now is the filler assembly that I've cut also will be able to slide in and out of here freely and will mount securely to the back of the bezel. Alright, so there's the pieces I cut off. You can see it doesn't look nice and pretty, but this is all going to be hidden, and now I've got room to drill my holes, and now this can freely slide in and out of the Jeep because of what I cut off in the Jeep. So now I'm just going to clean this up a little. It's got just a little bit of rust going. Clean this up, throw some Rust-Oleum black on it, and I'll do that after I drill these holes. Then I should be good to go. I'll mount this to the bezel, and then I'll mount the bezel to the Jeep. Okay, so you can see the holes are drilled now for the bezel mount, and just got this all cleaned up, sanded it down, got some Rust-Oleum black on it so it's not going to rust. As soon as it's done drying, I'll mount it to the bezel, and then I'll go out, make sure everything lines up on the Jeep, and then mount it to the Jeep. While the filler tube's drying, I decided to go ahead and mount the bezel to the body. So you can see it's nice and snug on there. It's lined up straight, and it's nice and flush to the body. So now what I'm going to do is, when the filler tube's dry, I'm going to take it underneath first and hook it up to the hoses, get those clamped on, and then get it situated up to the bezel so I can run the bolts through the holes that I drilled. Alright guys, so there's the finished product. And as you can see, all 4 screws are firmly in place. Those are actually drilled into the body. No cut screw heads or super glue going on. The cap fits nicely. I'm gonna have to go get a locking cap, but you can see it fits well. And all 4 of these bolts right here are actually going into the filler neck assembly and holding it firmly to the back of the bezel. So all 8 bolts and screws are doing everything they're supposed to do. There's no fake outs going on, and I feel like this is the way you gotta do it if you want to do it right. It's nice and flush against the body. I've got everything reattached on the back side. You can see it's all painted Rust-Oleum black to prevent rust, and these clamps are tightened back up, so I'm ready to go now. I'll go ahead and go get a locking gas cap and call it done. So that's it for today, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more. Got tons of videos of this Jeep and everything that's been done to it. Alright, see ya.